Before we dive in, if you're ready to witness the ultimate showdown between humans and a legendary predator, smash that like button, drop a comment with what you do in Ryland's shoes, and don't forget to subscribe for more epic sci-fi adventures. Trust me, you won't want to miss a second of this. Captain Ryland Cade gripped the railing of the scout ship as it descended through the hazy atmosphere of the uncharted planet. He had seen countless worlds from orbit, but something about this one felt different, ominous, almost alive. The surface was a shifting mosaic of jagged rocks and mist-choked valleys, the kind that made seasoned explorers hesitate and inexperienced scouts panic. Behind him, the team muttered in a mixture of awe and fear, their equipment clinking as they secured harnesses for the landing. "Keep your eyes open," Ryland said, his voice steady but sharp. "Sensors are picking up unusual biosignatures. This isn't just another barren rock." He gestured to the readings flickering on the console. Something massive had moved here recently, something intelligent. Ryland had always prided himself on reading a situation before it read him. His instincts told him this planet had secrets, and if he was right, the next few hours could change the course of their mission, and possibly the galaxy. Lieutenant Corin Vale, his second-in-command, frowned at the monitors. "Captain, readings indicate extreme toxicity in the atmosphere and sporadic radiation spikes. Standard protective gear won't hold for long outside." Ryland nodded. "We'll adapt. That's what we do." The shuttle's landing thrusters bit into the rocky surface, sending plumes of dust into the swirling mist. As the hatch opened, a wave of acrid air rolled in. Sensors immediately flagged a toxic spike, and the team coughed and adjusted their respirators. But it wasn't just the air that unsettled them. Something else moved in the shadows, something large. Something that had already been watching them before they even touched down. "Did you see that?" one of the junior scouts whispered, her voice trembling. The group turned toward the dark outline flitting between jagged boulders. Ryland held up a hand, signaling for silence. "I see it," he muttered, his eyes narrowing. "Stay calm. Do not provoke it." The creature emerged slowly from the haze, revealing a form that defied conventional classification. Muscles rippled beneath armor-like skin, and eyes glowed with an intelligence that chilled the marrow. Its movements were fluid, predatory, yet measured, almost as if it was studying them with the same curiosity they were showing it. Ryland felt a shiver of both fear and fascination. This is it," he whispered to himself. "The apex." The team's scanner struggled to classify it. Its biosignatures didn't match any known apex predator in the interstellar database. It was faster, stronger, and sharper than anything humanity had catalogued, and yet, it seemed cautious. Not immediately hostile but aware. And awareness, Ryland knew, was often a sign of lethal intelligence. Suddenly, the ground beneath the predator trembled. Ryland spotted a fissure leaking toxic gas, seeping up from a network of subterranean vents. Without hesitation, he signaled the team to stand back. The predator, however, didn't flee. It adjusted its stance and snarled softly, not at them but at the environment itself. Something was wrong. The fissure widened, belching greenish clouds, and the ground quaked. A smaller, injured creature stumbled from the mist, trapped and writhing, its cries echoing through the canyon. Ryland didn't need orders. He sprinted toward the struggling creature, weaving between jagged rocks as toxic gas hissed past his suit's filters. The predator followed, but not as a threat. It was protective, almost cooperative, keeping pace to block the unstable ground from collapsing further. "Captain, what is it doing?" Corin shouted over the comms, stunned. "Helping," Ryland said, barely catching the irony. "Whatever it is, it's not just an apex predator, it's intelligent." The smaller creature's struggles intensified, and Ryland reached it just as a fissure cracked beneath its feet. With a swift motion, he hauled it to safety, adrenaline screaming in his veins. The predator paused at the edge of the fissure, watching with unblinking eyes. Then it let out a low, almost approving growl, turning back toward the mist. Ryland glanced at his team. Their initial fear was giving way to awe. They were witnessing something unprecedented. A creature capable of assessing threats, making choices, and displaying what could only be described as moral judgment. Yet, beneath that awe, a creeping realization gnawed at Ryland's mind. If one predator could make a choice like this, what else was out there? What would the galaxy do when it discovered such power? And more importantly, would humans survive the day when others came to test it? And them? Ryland tightened his jaw and straightened. "Listen up. This planet is dangerous in ways we can't predict. But I've never been one to back down. Whatever that creature is, we're going to understand it before anyone else does." As the mist swirled and the predator disappeared into the rocky shadows, the team followed Rylan, hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. They were no longer just explorers, they were witnesses to a force that could challenge everything they knew about life, intelligence, and morality. And somewhere deep in the canyon, eyes glowed, following every step they took, silently deciding whether humans were allies or prey. The calm Rylan had felt moments ago dissolved the instant the deep space comms crackled to life. The frequency was unfamiliar, authoritative, and unmistakably military. A voice boomed through the cabin of the scout ship, carrying the weight of command and a threat they could not ignore. "This is Admiral Soren Vall of the Galactic Enforcement Fleet. You are trespassing on restricted territory. Stand down immediately or face annihilation." Rylan exchanged a quick glance with Corin, whose jaw tightened. "Restricted territory?" he muttered under his breath. "Since when is a remote, uninhabited planet of interest to the Council?" "It's not the planet they want," Corin replied, scanning the approaching fleet on the holographic map. "It's whatever lives there." Rylan's eyes narrowed. The Predator had survived this long for a reason. Now, others were coming to finish what nature and circumstance had left incomplete. The fleet's massive warships hung like dark sentinels in orbit, bristling with weapons capable of leveling entire continents. This was no mere patrol. It was an extermination mission. The scout team scrambled to prepare. Sensors beeped warnings of incoming orbital strikes and chemical dispersal canisters. Toxic aerosols, engineered to neutralize biological threats, were being deployed from above. The humans were outmatched by technology, but Rylan refused to panic. "Listen to me," he barked, addressing both his team and the unseen predator beyond the mist. "This is more than survival now. If we want to live, and if that creature is worth protecting, we have to act smart, fast, and together." Corin studied the sensor readouts, frowning. The canisters are designed for a broad-spectrum biocontaminant. Once released, the atmosphere will turn lethal in minutes. We don't have long to evacuate. Rylan's mind raced. The Galactic Council considered the Predator a threat so severe it warranted complete eradication. They were willing to poison an entire ecosystem just to eliminate a single apex creature. But humans were not so easily cowed. Where brute force failed, ingenuity and strategy could prevail. "We need to draw them off and contain the toxin," Rylan said. "Corin, you'll coordinate defensive protocols and reroute the ship's power to shield generators. The rest of you gear up for a ground-level operation. And keep an eye out for our friend." He hesitated, choosing the word carefully. If it decides we're allies, it could be the difference between life and death. Outside, the first aerosol canisters began to descend, releasing a faint, green-tinted mist that clung to the jagged landscape. Rylan's team moved with precision, deploying mobile shields and creating a perimeter around the scout ship. Every moment counted. Every misstep could be fatal. The Predator appeared at the edge of the clearing, its gaze steady, measuring. Rylan approached slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. The creature did not flee or attack. Instead, it shifted to block the most vulnerable angle of their formation, a silent acknowledgement of partnership. "Looks like we've got a partner," Corin whispered. "I just hope it understands what we're up against." Rylan nodded. "More than we do, probably. But we'll use whatever advantage we have." The first wave of chemical dispersal hit the lower canyons. The green haze slithered over rocks and into crevices, corrosive and invisible to the naked eye. Sensors screamed alarms, but the Predator moved as if it could read the hazard, guiding the humans away from the worst concentrations. It was instinct amplified by intelligence. Every step it took was calculated, deliberate, and protective. Rylan's voice came over the comms, steady and commanding. "Team, don't just react. Predict. Use the terrain. Force them into narrow passes where their dispersal patterns lose efficiency. Keep moving." The humans and the Predator maneuvered through rocky tunnels, narrowly avoiding pockets of deadly gas. They reached a plateau overlooking the valley, the fleet's shadowed warships hanging above like vultures. Rylan surveyed the scene, formulating the impossible plan that might allow them to survive. "They think they can control the planet by brute force," he muttered. "But force alone won't save them from what they've unleashed. We have to outthink them." The Predator let out a low growl, almost as if in agreement, then vanished into the misted ridges below. Rylan clenched his fists. It was going to act independently, and he trusted it to choose the path that maximized survival for all. Humans had allies now, ones whose raw power dwarfed their own, tempered by intelligence that rivaled their strategy. Corin exhaled sharply, scanning the approaching chemical waves. Captain, this is worse than I thought. If we don't act fast, the planet will be rendered uninhabitable, and we'll be buried in the fallout. Ryland's jaw tightened. Then we do what humans do best. We adapt. We fight smart. We survive. The team took positions along the cliff edges, using natural formations to channel the toxic mist into controlled pockets. They moved in tandem with the predator, its massive frame blocking the canisters that threatened to reach them first. Every calculated action bought them precious minutes, but Ryland knew the council would escalate the assault. Somewhere deep within the mist, the predator's glowing eyes scanned the horizon, calculating. Ryland could feel its presence, a silent acknowledgement that it was aware of the stakes and willing to engage on their terms. It was no longer simply a creature of the wild. It was a sentient ally, and together they represented a force the Galactic Council had not anticipated. The first canisters had been neutralized, but more were incoming, and the haze still crept along the canyon floor. Ryland surveyed his team, determination burning in his eyes. This is just the beginning. They've underestimated us, underestimated the creature, and most of all, underestimated what humans are capable of when faced with extinction. We survive this, or we die trying, and I don't intend to die today. As the predator disappeared into the swirling green fog to intercept another wave, Ryland felt a surge of something he hadn't expected: hope. Against a technologically superior force, with a planet's deadly hazards closing in, humans were not powerless. And with the predator at their side, survival seemed possible, not guaranteed but possible. The canyon rumbled again as the fleet above adjusted their assault. Ryland tightened his grip on his weapon and his resolve. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And the first strike of this battle was only the opening move. The predator moved with a precision that made Ryland's jaw tighten in both awe and determination. Its massive claws avoided damaging the fragile rock as it led the humans along hidden ridges and tunnels, each turn calculated to minimize exposure to the poisonous haze now creeping across the canyon floor. The team's respirators hissed and coughed with every breath, but the creature's presence gave them confidence, as if it carried the knowledge of survival itself. "Stay close," Ryland called, his voice barely above the wind whipping through the narrow passage. Corin mirrored his steps, glancing at the monitors. "Captain, it's like it knows the canister's trajectory. It's predicting their deployment before they even release them." Ryland nodded. "Intelligence isn't just survival instinct. This thing is calculating." He swallowed hard. "And that makes it valuable. More than anyone imagined." They reached a cavernous chamber where the air was slightly clearer, shielded from the drifting poison by natural formations. The predator paused at the edge, surveying the canyon below, its eyes reflecting a luminous green against the dim light. It growled low, almost conversational, and Ryland understood the message. It was offering its cooperation, but on its own terms. "We need to communicate with it more effectively," Ryland muttered. "Gesture, body language, anything that lets it understand our intent without provoking it." He crouched, raising his hands in a universal signal of peace, motioning toward the nearest threat. The predator's head tilted slightly, then it stepped closer, brushing past him without aggression. Corin exhaled in relief. "I didn't think it would respond to nonverbal cues." Ryland smiled faintly. "Humans have adapted to communicate across species before. We just have to think like it thinks." The team quickly set up a series of portable scanners and environmental disruptors to monitor the incoming chemical waves and neutralize them when possible. The predator moved seamlessly alongside them, its massive limbs dismantling or redirecting obstacles with astonishing dexterity. The humans adjusted, learning to anticipate its movements, each coordination tightening their bond. "Captain," Corin said, eyes scanning the horizon, "if we can control the terrain and predict the chemical dispersal, we might be able to trap the fleet's drops in the valley below. Force them to waste resources while we buy time." Ryland's mind raced. "Exactly. But we need a bait. Something that draws the next wave into the narrow canyon where the predator can intercept without risk to us." He glanced at the creature. "Think you can handle that part?" The predator crouched, its glowing eyes locked on the advancing canisters. Then, with a sudden surge of speed, it darted into the mist, emerging behind a ridge to intercept the first droplet. Ryland and his team watched in awe as it tore through the descending canister, neutralizing the chemical payload before it reached the humans. Its efficiency was almost surgical, yet fluid, combining raw power with strategic intellect. "Remarkable," Corin whispered. "It's not just reacting, it's predicting. Every move is deliberate." Ryland nodded, adrenaline sharp in his veins. "And that gives us a chance." We match its strategy with ours. Together we're stronger than they anticipated. The humans continued their countermeasures, deploying reflective barriers and motion sensors while the predator patrolled the outer perimeter, taking down canisters with deadly precision. Rylan realized that this was no longer a simple survival mission. The predator was not a tool, not a weapon. They were partners in an evolving strategy that relied as much on human ingenuity as on the apex intelligence beside them. Hours passed, the haze creeping ever closer, yet the humans and predator adapted with each iteration, learning, predicting, and reacting. Rylan felt a surge of respect, not for the creature's strength alone, but for its capacity to make choices, to assess risk, and to act selflessly for the group's survival. Humanity had relied on intellect and creativity for centuries. Here, those same traits allowed them to communicate across species and turn a deadly adversary into an ally. As night fell, the canyon glowed with a faint, eerie light, refracted through the mist. The predator crouched atop a ridge, observing, calculating, guarding the humans below. Rylan approached, extending a hand in a gesture that had become routine between them. The creature hesitated, then lowered its massive head, acknowledging trust. "We need a plan for the fleet," Rylan said softly. "We can't just react forever. We need to anticipate, control, and strike when the odds tilt in our favor." Corin studied the terrain and the sensors. "We can use the canyon's natural channels to funnel the canisters. The predator intercepts most of them and we handle the rest. It's risky, but it might be our only chance." Rylan exhaled slowly, staring into the glowing eyes of the creature. "It's not just a chance. It's our only shot at proving humans can think, adapt, and survive against forces far beyond brute strength. This is what we do best." The predator let out a low, resonant growl, a sound that reverberated through the canyon and seemed to affirm their alliance. Rylan felt a flicker of hope. For the first time, survival felt achievable, not guaranteed but achievable. Together they had begun to turn the tide, to convert instinct and intellect into coordinated strategy. The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of chemicals from the fleet above. Rylan looked at his team, their faces illuminated by the flickering sensors and the predator's faintly glowing eyes. "Rest for a few minutes," he instructed. "We need clear minds for what comes next. Tomorrow we take the fight to them, not just react but control the battlefield." Corin nodded, and the humans settled into defensive positions while the predator remained alert, scanning the horizon, a silent guardian. Rylan allowed himself a moment to breathe, heart hammering. Humanity had found an unexpected ally, a force beyond comprehension, and together they had begun to carve a path through the storm of poison and destruction. But deep in the shadowed canyons and misted ridges, Rylan sensed that this was only the beginning. The fleet would escalate. The chemicals would intensify. And the predator, for all its intelligence, was still one creature against a galactic armada. Yet the first step had been taken, the alliance forged, and with it came a spark of hope. Tomorrow the battle would intensify. Today they had survived. And in surviving, they had proven that human ingenuity, courage, and unexpected alliances could challenge even the most overwhelming odds. The predator's low growl echoed once more through the canyon, and Rylan allowed himself a small, determined smile. This was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was a demonstration of what humans could achieve when they fought with intellect, courage, and allies beyond their imagination. Dawn broke over the canyon, pale light slicing through the lingering green haze of chemical dispersal. Rylan Cade's eyes narrowed as he scanned the horizon. The galactic fleet had intensified their assault overnight, dropping larger canisters and deploying automated drones to sweep the canyon floor. The toxic waves moved faster now, creeping into every crevice, and the humans' portable shields would only buy seconds if left alone. "Captain, they're bringing in heavier drones," Corin warned, pointing at the approaching metallic shapes, their sensors glowing ominously. "If we don't act now, the canyon will be uninhabitable within minutes." Rylan's jaw tightened. "Then we act smarter. Not faster. Smarter. We funnel them." He gestured toward the narrow choke points along the canyon's ridges. "Use the terrain. Let them come to us. The predator knows these paths better than anyone." The predator emerged from the mist, muscles coiled, eyes glimmering with a calculated intensity. It had learned the humans' movements overnight, adapting to their strategies, anticipating the drone's patterns. Rylan felt a surge of relief mixed with awe. This creature was not just a guardian, it was a tactical commander in its own right. "Ready the intercept," Rylan instructed. "We'll handle the smaller waves, the predator takes the heavy payloads. Corin, reroute power to reinforce the shields at the canyon's bottleneck." Timing is everything. The first wave descended like a rolling tide, chemical vapors spilling from canisters, drones scanning for movement. The predator lunged, tearing through the first canister before it could release its contents, claws slicing through metal with surgical precision. The humans coordinated behind the shields, redirecting smaller aerosols into the canyon walls, containing the spread. Every action was synchronized, a ballet of intellect and instinct, human strategy intertwined with apex precision. Rylan ducked as a drone hovered dangerously close, firing a pulse that sent sparks flying across the rocky floor. He rolled, recalibrating the shield generator to absorb the next blast. Corin shouted instructions, coordinating the team's movements like a seasoned conductor, and the predator adjusted, repositioning itself to intercept the next canister. "Look at it." Corin gasped. "It's thinking ahead. Calculating risk and reward." Rylan's lips tightened. Intelligence like this can't be quantified. It's not just surviving, it's choosing who to protect, when and how. And right now that's us. The canyon trembled as the larger drones released their payloads. The green fog spilled like a living thing, curling and twisting around the rocks. The predator roared, charging through the densest concentrations, tearing canisters apart before the toxins could reach the humans. Its speed was breathtaking, its awareness uncanny. Yet it never attacked the humans, never exposed them to danger unnecessarily. Every move was deliberate, protective. Rylan took a breath, scanning the sensors. "We've delayed them, but we can't hold forever. We need an offensive maneuver, something that turns their own assault against them." Corin's eyes widened as realization struck. The canyon. The natural channels, the chemicals can be redirected downward, back to the drop zones. If we force the next wave into the ravines, it could neutralize their drones as well. Rylan's grin was sharp. "Exactly. And the predator can handle the interception at the edges while we manipulate the flow. Let's turn their weapons against them." The humans moved into position, adjusting the terrain with portable barriers and directional emitters. The predator surged forward, intercepting incoming canisters with lethal precision. Sparks flew as metal shattered under its claws, chemical vapors hissed and dissipated under controlled airflow, and the humans executed their plan with flawless timing. The first redirected wave hit the fleet's drop zones, triggering explosions that disabled several drones and destroyed the remaining canisters before they could disperse. Alarms blared across the valley, but the humans and the predator remained in control, their calculated response creating a momentary advantage. Rylan glanced at the glowing eyes of the creature beside him. "You see that? This is what I was talking about. They underestimated us, underestimated our ally, and underestimated what humans can do when they refuse to surrender." Corin exhaled, a mix of relief and awe. "They're going to escalate. They'll send in everything next." Rylan's gaze swept the canyon. The haze lingered but was no longer advancing. The predator crouched on a ridge, scanning, calculating, poised to strike at a moment's notice. "Then we'll be ready," he said. "We fight with strategy, with courage, and with the one ally they never anticipated, an apex predator that chooses to protect humanity instead of destroying it." A distant rumble shook the canyon, a reminder that the battle was far from over. Yet for the first time since their arrival, Rylan allowed himself a spark of hope. The predator's loyalty had been earned through shared risk, mutual understanding, and a demonstration of human ingenuity. "We've survived the first assault," Rylan continued, speaking to the team and the creature alike. "Tomorrow we press the advantage. Today we've proven something crucial. Even against overwhelming power, humans can adapt, strategize, and survive. And we've gained an ally capable of turning the tide." The predator growled low, the sound vibrating through the rock as if affirming the plan. Rylan felt a weight lift slightly from his shoulders. They had survived against technology and toxins that could have easily annihilated them. The humans had survived because they had thought, because they had acted with intelligence, and because they had earned the trust of a being far beyond their comprehension. Yet in the back of his mind, Rylan knew this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council would not retreat for long. Their power was immense, their resolve relentless. But the Predator's presence changed the equation. Survival was no longer a matter of luck. It was a matter of strategy, courage, and alliances forged in the crucible of danger. Rylan turned to Corin. "Rest for a few hours. Analyze the terrain, check the equipment. Tomorrow we go on the offensive and we show them that humans, and our ally, are not to be underestimated." The team nodded, settling into defensive positions, while the Predator remained vigilant atop the ridge. Its glowing eyes scanned the horizon, calculating, protecting, waiting. Rylan allowed himself a small, grim smile. Together, they had transformed a near-certain catastrophe into a battle they could influence. And as the canyon settled into an uneasy calm, Rylan realized something profound. This was no longer merely a fight for survival. It was a demonstration of human resilience, ingenuity, and the unexpected strength of alliances that defied expectation. The next wave would come. But this time they would be ready. The sun rose higher over the canyon, casting stark shadows across the jagged ridges. Rylan Cade tightened his grip on the rifle strapped across his chest, scanning the horizon as the fleet above shifted into formation. This time the Galactic Council had thrown everything at them. Heavy drones, chemical dispersal units, and orbital strike platforms designed to saturate the valley in lethal toxin. The air already carried a faint, acrid tang, a reminder that every second counted. "Captain incoming," Corrin warned, voice tense but precise. Sensors lit up as the first wave of drones descended, releasing a rolling tide of green haze that slithered across the canyon like a living entity. "They've recalibrated. It's more concentrated this time." Rylan swallowed, his mind racing. "Then we counter differently. This isn't just defense, it's survival. And survival requires decisiveness." He glanced at the predator crouched atop a ridge, its glowing eyes tracking each incoming canister. It exhaled low, a rumble that resonated through the rock. The creature's loyalty had already been tested, but now it was a matter of life or death, not just strategy. "Move into positions." Rylan barked. "Corrin, adjust the shields to force the canisters into the eastern ravine. The predator handles the intercepts." The predator surged forward, a blur of muscle and precision. Canisters fell and were torn apart before they reached the humans. Sparks flew as metal cracked, and the toxic clouds dissipated under controlled airflow. The humans executed their maneuvers in perfect synchronization, anticipating the predator's movements and guiding the chemical waves into natural traps. A massive drone released its payload directly above Rylan's position. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the spill, and signaled Corrin. "Now, activate the vent channels." The canyon responded as designed. Streams of redirected chemical vapor funneled into deep fissures, erupting below the fleet's orbital drop points. Explosions rocked the canyon, sending shockwaves upward, disabling drones and disrupting the canister dispersal. The fleet reeled, unprepared for the humans' audacity and the predator's lethal efficiency. "Captain, they're escalating again," Corrin shouted. "Orbital strikes. If they hit, the canyon collapses." Rylan's eyes narrowed. There was no time for hesitation. "Then we finish this on our terms. Predator, follow my lead." The creature roared, charging down the canyon, drawing the attention of the incoming drones. Its movements were deliberate, calculated, and terrifyingly effective. Each strike disabled machines, ripped apart canisters, and protected the humans in its wake. Sparks and smoke mixed with the toxic haze, creating a surreal battlefield of strategy and instinct. Rylan led the team through the smoke, guiding the remaining drones toward the predator's intercept path. Every shot, every maneuver was precise. They were no longer reacting, they were controlling the battlefield. And the predator's understanding of their intent amplified every action, turning raw strength into coordinated, lethal efficiency. Corrin's voice trembled with awe. "It's sacrificing itself to protect us. Every move, it's choosing to save humans over its own safety." Rylan clenched his fists, heart hammering. "That's trust. That's intelligence. And that's why we survive. Not just because of technology but because we can earn loyalty that transcends species." The fleet released one final wave, an enormous canister pulsing with concentrated toxins, aimed directly at the canyon floor where the humans were pinned. Rylan's chest tightened as he watched it descend. Time slowed. The predator leaped. Its massive form collided with the canister midair, claws piercing the reinforced hull. Sparks erupted, and the chemical contents hissed violently, yet the creature held, absorbing the impact long enough for Rylan and his team to reposition safely behind reinforced rock. The canister shattered harmlessly against the canyon wall, neutralized by the predator's sheer strength and tactical timing. Rylan's eyes met the glowing gaze of the creature. There was understanding there, a silent acknowledgement of shared struggle and mutual respect. Humanity had proven ingenuity, courage, and strategic thinking, but the predator had proven loyalty and choice. Together they had turned near-certain death into survival. The canyon trembled as the last drones fell, and the haze began to thin. The galactic fleet, battered and humiliated, retreated, unwilling to risk further losses. Silence settled over the valley, broken only by the predator's low, rumbling growl and the human's ragged breaths. Rylan lowered his rifle and exhaled, muscles tense but relief seeping in. "We did it," he said softly. "Against impossible odds we survived. Not by brute force alone, but by thinking, by adapting, and by earning the trust of an ally no one else understood." Corin placed a hand on his shoulder, eyes scanning the canyon. "And we've made a friend that no one will ever anticipate again. They'll think the predator is a threat, but they don't know the truth." Rylan nodded, turning to look at the creature standing atop the ridge, watching them with intelligence and awareness. It had chosen to protect humanity, to stand with them against annihilation. In its eyes, Rylan saw respect, understanding, and perhaps something akin to pride. For the first time since arriving on this planet, hope blossomed. Humanity had survived against technology, toxins, and a galactic armada. They had relied on intellect, strategy, courage, and the loyalty of a creature far beyond human comprehension. Rylan stepped forward, cautiously extending a hand. The predator lowered its massive head, brushing past him without aggression. It had chosen alliance, and in that choice lay the proof of what humans could achieve when they refused to surrender. "We've earned more than survival today," Rylan said, voice steady. "We've earned respect, from an apex predator, from each other, and maybe even from the galaxy itself. And tomorrow," he paused, glancing at the clearing sky above. "Tomorrow we rebuild. Tomorrow we prove that humans are a force to be reckoned with, no matter the odds." The predator's low growl vibrated through the canyon once more, and Rylan allowed himself a small, determined smile. This was not just a victory of survival, it was a testament to humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and capacity for empathy. Together, humans and predator had faced annihilation and emerged stronger. As the wind shifted and cleared the remaining haze, Rylan felt the weight of the battle lift. The galactic fleet had underestimated them, the odds had been overwhelming, yet they had endured. Side by side with the predator, humans had demonstrated that courage, intellect, and alliance could overcome even the deadliest threats. And in the quiet aftermath, with the canyon bathed in sunlight and the predator standing sentinel, Rylan realized the truth of the title that would echo across the galaxy. They had poisoned the planet to kill the predator, but it had chosen to save the humans instead. The battle was won. The lesson was clear. Humanity, when united with courage and intellect, could earn allies, outthink enemies, and survive where others would fall. And the predator, silent, watchful, and fiercely loyal, remained a guardian, a testament to the unexpected power of choice in a universe that often relied on brute force alone.